Hello and welcome to the magic of Sudoku. My name's Jeff, I'm glad you're here. Let's just jump right in. In this short video, I'll show you 3 easy ways to get Sudoku puzzles directly into your Excel workbooks. And by the end, you'll be able to click refresh and have a new puzzle and solution directly into your workbook. It's like magic. The first way I'll demonstrate is by using formulas. The second way is by using Power Query. And by the way, this is the best way because it's actually a playable puzzle in Excel. And the third way is by using the COPILOT function. And stick around till the end because as a bonus, I'll show you how to set up conditional formatting so you know if your guess is right or wrong. Let's head into the first way by using formulas. Let's start with the first exercise, exercise 1. So if I wanted to create a Sudoku puzzle in Excel, I might start by doing it manually. Like 1, like 2, like 3, and then leave some blanks, but you can imagine that will take forever. So then it's kind of like, what functions in Excel can create like a 9x9 grid? And the first thing that comes to mind is the sequence function. Equals sequence. We want 9 rows and 9 columns. Close the function and enter. Okay, great. Now we have a 9x9 grid, but like we still need the Sudoku numbers and blanks. And we need to make sure that all the rows, all the columns, and all the 3x3 grids use the numbers 1 through 9. So like, this isn't gonna work. So why reinvent the wheel when we can just use an API? If you're not familiar with the idea of an API, the simplest way to think about it is it's like an Excel function because you call the function name and it returns some type of value. Now it's a lot more involved than that, but that's kind of a simple way to think about it. And the good news is, with Excel, we can call an API using the web service function. So it looks like this, equals web service. And here we provide the URL. Now rather than retype the URL, I'm just gonna cruise up here and copy this one. And then I'm gonna go equals web service, quote, paste everything, close quote, and close function. So we're passing it the API URL. And we hit enter. So it goes out to this web service and it brings back this text string, which represents a puzzle. So the difficulty level is easy. Here is the puzzle, and this is basically just left to right, top to bottom. And if I scroll over, we can also see that they provide the corresponding solution. Awesome. So once we have this puzzle, we basically need to get it into a puzzle format. And we're going to do that in the next exercise. But I also want to show you this other API. Let me cruise up here, copy this, equals web service, quote, paste everything, quote, close function, and enter. And this is what this API returns. New board grids, values, and so it just gives it to us in a little different format. Here there's brackets around each of the rows. So we could use either of these to get the puzzle and the solution. For the purposes of this video, we're gonna parse this first one. I think they're both about the same level of difficulty, but I had to pick one, so I'm gonna pick the first one. So let's go ahead and figure out the formulas that we need to use to extract this puzzle and display it in a grid. We'll do that in the next exercise, exercise 2. So there's several different functions that we're gonna use. So we're going to take them step by step so logically it's easy to understand. And then in the final exercise, we'll combine them all into a single formula. The first one is to call the API. So once again, we're going to use the web service function, quote, I'm going to paste in the API, paste everything, quote, close function, and enter. And that returns the string. Now, if we look at this, what we need to do is we need to find the very first digit of the puzzle. There's a few different ways to do that. Here, I'm just going to use the find function. And I'm going to go equals find, and I'm going to go, what do I want to find? Well, I want to find the word puzzle in the text returned here. I'm going to start at the first position. Close function and enter. This is saying that the word puzzle starts at the 23rd character within that string. And that's not going to get us exactly where we need to be, but it's a good starting place. So now let's try to get the puzzle string. For that, we're going to use the mid function, equals mid. So we want to get the middle of what string? Well, it's the string that was returned here in D6. Comma, what's the starting number? Well, for now, we'll use the value returned by the find function, even though we're going to have to tweak it a little bit. And then the number of characters. Well, how many number of characters are there? It's a 9x9 grid. There's 81. Close function and enter. Well, we got close, but we need to adjust this a little bit. Instead of starting exactly where the word puzzle is found, we want to add some numbers to get to the first digit. So we're going to say, instead of starting at 23, we need to add Puzzle, quote, colon and quote. I think that's 9. So we'll try that. Plus 9, enter. And let's just make sure it worked. 006, 006. Okay, so we got it. Now we need to lay this out in a 9 by 9 grid. For that, we're going to use the mid function again with the sequence function. Let's go equals sequence. And we want a 9 by 9 grid. Close function and enter. So visualize this for a moment. We have the numbers 1 through 9 and then 10 all the way down to 81. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell the mid function to get the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and the fifth character and so on. So what we're going to do is we're going to say go get the mid from which text? Well, from the text here in D8. What starting number? It's the starting numbers of the sequence function. And how many characters do we want? We want 1. So close function and enter. And now we replace the sequence number with the actual puzzle number. And finally, what we need to do is we need to suppress these zeros. So we can clean this up by using the substitute function. So we're going to say substitute within that whole puzzle the old text of 0 and replace it with a double quote. That's an empty string. Close function and enter. And now we're looking pretty good. Kind of the next steps we need to do is we need to format it. We need to combine all of these independent formulas into a single formula, and then we need to generate the solution as well. So let's go to the next exercise, exercise 3. All right, in this exercise, we're going to combine the formula, apply some formatting, and talk about how to refresh it. So the first thing is to call the API. So we'll use the web service function again, paste the results, paste everything, close quote, close function, enter. Okay, now I could parse this using some kind of mega formula, like equals, substitute, mid, sequence, but that gets a little difficult to troubleshoot and maintain. So instead, we're going to stay organized with the let function. Equals let. Here, we assign name value pairs that are available within the scope of this function. So we're going to say that the name API is equal to the value in B5. Now we're going to go step by step, so I want to return this by using the word API, close function, and enter. And that looks like it works. Okay, so now let's take the next step. I'm going to use Alt-Enter here so I get a new name value pair for each row. So the next thing is to find the puzzle start. So I'll use the name start, and it is going to refer to, we'll use the find function to find the word puzzle within the API text starting at character 1. Close function, and I remember I needed to add, was it 9? I think so. Comma, and let's return that just to make sure it works. So we're going to return the start value. Close function and enter. We get 32, and that feels about right. Okay, cruise back over here, Alt-Enter, and now we're going to get the puzzle string. So you can pick any name you want. I'm going to pick string, and we got that by using the mid function. And the text is API. The start num is our start value, which we calculated, for 81 characters. Close function. Now let's just return this out to see that it's working. String, close function, enter. Okay, that's looking good. Cruise over here, Alt-Enter. Now we need to lay this out. So you can pick any name you want. I'm going to use layout, comma. All right, and we did that by using the mid function, and we'll get the mid of string starting at, and we use the sequence function to build a 9 by 9 grid. Close function, comma, and we want to return 1 character. Close function, and let's return this layout, close function, and enter. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And the final step was to clean this. So let's go ahead and Alt-Enter, clean, comma, substitute, and we want to take the layout text, and we want to take any zeros it finds and replace them with an empty string. Close function, and let's return that with clean, close function, enter. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what we'll do is we're just going to copy this whole entire formula, and we're going to paste it here. Okay, but instead of looking for puzzle, we're going to look for the word solution. And I think the word solution is longer than puzzle, so we might need to adjust this 9 a little bit. Let's hit enter. Okay, and it looks like we need to add 2 more. So let's cruise back here and change that 9 to 11, enter. Okay. And if I spot check that, that looks about right. Cool. So now it's just about formatting. So let's grab this, and let's grab this, and let's go with all borders. And then we'll just go 3, and we'll go thick outside. Okay. Now let's grab all this. We're going to center, and we need to change the row height. So I'm going to select all this stuff, and I'll go to Cells, Format, Row Height, and we'll set this to 40. And maybe we'll increase the font size a little bit, and same with our solution. And let me actually zoom this out a little bit so it's a little easier to see. There we go. Okay, so how do we refresh this? Well, if we go to Formulas and we click Calculate Now, nothing seems to happen. And that's because we're using the web service function. So instead of using F9, what we're going to do is Control-Alt F9. There we go. And that'll cause the web service function to update and all the dependent formulas to update as well. So anytime we want a new puzzle, Control-Alt F9 and got it with the corresponding solution below. So that's an example of how we can use the web service function to call an API, and then how to use a series of formulas to extract and format the values from that returned API string as desired. All right, so that's how we can use formulas. Let's head into the second way by using Power Query. Let's head to the first exercise, exercise 1. Did you know there's this web page that provides a free Sudoku puzzle and solution every time you click refresh? If you go to a browser and paste the URL, this is what you get. And it changes every time you click refresh. So what we can do is retrieve this with Power Query and then use Power Query to format it so that it actually looks like a puzzle. Okay, so we go to Data and we're going to use this from web command. And we'll paste the URL into the resulting dialog. Click OK. All right, now in the Power Query editor, we want to use this convert into table command. Perfect. That looks pretty good. Now let's close and load to. And we're going to store it as a table in an existing worksheet. Pick a cell and click OK. All right, now that we've retrieved the puzzle and solution, we actually need to format it so it looks like a puzzle. And we'll do that in the next exercise, exercise 2. The next step is to create a new query that uses as its source the result of the API. To do that, we right-click the API query and select Reference. Okay, the first step is just to filter this so we only have the puzzle row. To do that, I'm just going to use this drop-down, and I'm going to select Puzzle and click OK. We also don't need this name column anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. First, let's take this string and create 9 rows, and then we'll create 9 columns. To do that, we're going to say split column by number of characters. And we'll use 9 repeatedly, and we're going to split into rows. And click OK. All right, now it changed the data type, and we don't want it to do that, so I'm just going to delete this step. Perfect. Now I want to split this into 9 columns. So once again, I'll go to split column by number of characters, 1 repeatedly into columns, and click OK. Perfect. Now when we save this out to Excel, all these zeros will show up as zeros. Instead, we just want them to be blank. So to do that, we're going to convert zeros to null values. The way we do that is just select all the columns and click Replace Values. And I'm going to replace a 0, and I'm going to type the word null, all in lowercase, and click OK. Okay, this is looking good. Now I'm going to close and load to a table on an existing worksheet. I'm going to navigate to the sheet, select a cell, and click OK. Now let's go to the sheet and take a look. All right, this is looking pretty good. And let's actually rename this to Puzzle. So I'm going to right-click, rename Puzzle. Perfect. Before I apply the formatting, let's do the same steps for the solution. Exercise 3. Right-click API, Reference. I'm going to filter this to only show the solution row. I'm going to rename this solution. I'm going to remove the solution column. I'm going to split this column by number of characters, 9 repeatedly and split into rows. Okay, and once again it changed this data type to a number. I'm going to go ahead and remove that step. That way we'll leave it as text. Now I'm going to split column by number of characters, 1 repeatedly, and I'm going to split into columns. Okay, there are no zeros since this is a solution, so I don't need to replace with nulls. Now we'll just close and load to a table in an existing worksheet. Select our worksheet and cell and click OK. Okay, that's looking good. Now it just comes down to formatting. Let's head to our puzzle. First thing I want to do is hide the header row. Easy. Then I want to change the table style, and you can pick any style. I'm just going to use this one for now. Let's get the grid lines. So I'm going to cruise over here and I'm going to say all borders. And now let's go ahead and center this both vertically and horizontally. Let's increase the font size a little bit. And let's change the row height. I'll use 40. And if we wanted to make some thick cell borders, we could select our little 9 squares and select thick outside borders. I'll speed this up while I do it. Okay, now let's go ahead and refresh. So I head to Data, Refresh All. Okay, now as you can see, it automatically updated the column widths. So I'm going to go ahead and undo, and let's see how to toggle that setting off so that it doesn't change the column widths. Head to Table Design and Properties. And here we just untick Adjust Column Widths. Click OK. Okay, now let's go to Data and Refresh All. Okay, much better. And now we can apply the same formatting steps to our solution. So once again, Table Design, remove header row, change the style to anything you want. I'll use this one. Go to Properties, untick Adjust Column Widths. Select the range, center vertically and horizontally. Change the row height. I'll go with 40. Select our range, all borders, and then if you want, you can do these thick outside borders to each of the little 9 squares. Okay, great. So anytime you want a new puzzle, just cruise up here, Data, and Refresh All. Then you've got a new puzzle along with the corresponding solution. So hopefully that was a pretty cool exercise. We looked at how to pull values from an API using Power Query, how to format that data using Power Query, and then how to apply some cool formatting tricks. Now that we've seen Power Query, let's head to the third way, the COPILOT function. Let's start with the first exercise, exercise 1. Did you know there's a free web URL that provides a Sudoku puzzle and corresponding solution? For example, when I paste the URL into a browser tab, it returns the puzzle and solution in this format. And this is just the sequence of numbers, 1 digit per cell in the Sudoku puzzle grid. We can also retrieve this directly into the Excel grid using a simple Excel function. The function is called WEBSERVICE equals WEBSERVICE. And we just pass it the URL. We could type it in here, or we can just point it to this cell reference. Close function and enter. And as you can see, this returns the puzzle directly into our Excel grid. Now the trick is, how do we format this series of digits into a Sudoku puzzle? Well, this is the third video in this series. In the first video, I showed you how to use traditional functions. In the second video, I showed you how to use Power Query. In this video, I'll show you how to use the COPILOT function. At the time I'm recording this video, the COPILOT function is not in every version of Excel. It's currently being rolled out, so you may not have access to the COPILOT function. If not, just check out the Power Query video instead. Now let's use the COPILOT function to create the grid in the next exercise, exercise 2. Equals COPILOT. And the COPILOT function takes pairs of arguments. The first argument in the pair is the prompt, and the second argument in the pair is the context. In other words, the cell reference or range of cells. Our prompt will be create the Sudoku puzzle grid, comma, and I'm going to point it to the puzzle that was returned by the web service function here in B8. Close function and enter. Now, the reason I'm laughing is simply because this was so easy. relative to the other two methods I demonstrated in previous videos. Now it's time for a little bit of formatting. What we need to do now is suppress all the zeros. Of course, this is Excel, and there are many ways to do this. In this video, we'll use the substitute function. So we'll update our formula. Substitute, and within this text, the text returned by the COPILOT function, we want to find any zeros, enclosed in quotes, and replace it with an empty string, double quote, close function, and enter. Okay, so far so good. All right, now let's apply some grid lines. So we'll go with all borders. Let me update the row height, and I'll go with 40. And let's select this range, and we'll do alignment, and we're going to center vertical and horizontal. And if you wanted to, you could use a thick outside border for each of your 9 squares, and I'll speed this part up. Okay, that looks pretty good. With our puzzle in place, let's do something similar for the solution. Exercise 3 equals COPILOT. Create the Sudoku solution grid, comma, and we're going to point it to the results of the web service function in B8. Close function and enter. Okay, amazing. Now, instead of applying the formatting manually, I'm simply going to cruise over here. I'm going to do a standard Control-C copy. I'm going to select this range, and I'm going to do a paste special, formats, and I'm going to click OK. So far so good. Now let's just change the row height. I'm going to go with 40. All right, very cool. Now, what if we want to get a new puzzle? Well, we just need to recalc, but a standard calculate now or F9 isn't going to work because of the web service cache. So instead, we need to do Control-Alt-F9. Okay, the web service function retrieves a new puzzle and solution, and the COPILOT function displays those results in a nice, neat Sudoku grid. So that's how we can use the COPILOT function to format our Sudoku puzzles. And if you don't have the COPILOT function, just check out the Power Query video instead. Now that you've seen the 3 ways, let's use conditional formatting to level up our puzzle. Basically, when we use the Power Query option, we can actually type stuff into these cells. But it would be nice to know if our guess was right or wrong. So one option is conditional formatting. Select the entire range, and what we're basically going to do is check to see if the value entered here is equal to the value entered on the solution. We go to conditional formatting, new rule, use formula, and it's basically going to be equal to, and what we want to do is type in the active cell reference. So you see we've selected a range of cells, only one of them is active, and in this case it's B7. So we want to type in B7. We want that to be a relative reference, and then we want to say is equal to, and then we want to head over and we want to select the corresponding cell in the solution. We also want to remove these $signs because this needs to be a relative reference as well. So we're basically saying, does the puzzle equal the solution? If so, we pick format, and you can pick any formatting you like. I'm just going to keep this simple, and I'm going to fill it with this light blue. And click OK. And OK. And now let's do another conditional formatting rule for incorrect guesses. Conditional formatting, manage rules. We're simply going to select this rule and duplicate. Now we're going to select it and edit rule. And here, all we need to do is change this equals to a does not equal, and then update the format. You can go any color you want. In this case, I'm just going to go with this light gray. And click OK. And apply. Okay. So now if I'm here taking guess, like 8, it stays gray. If I guess the correct value, which in this case is 4, it turns blue. And this works all throughout the puzzle. Now, when you're ready to get a new puzzle, just head to Data, Refresh All, and just like that, we have a new fresh puzzle, and all the guesses are cleared out, and conditional formatting is applied. So that's how we can set up Sudoku puzzles in Excel. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a great day. Hey Excel user, if you ever need to create summary reports, check out my Pivot Table for Beginners video. It starts at the beginning and shows how to store the data transactions in a table and then how to summarize those transactions with a pivot table report. I hope it helps unlock the incredible power of pivot tables.
This video is a production of Excel University.